Thank you, Warren. Good afternoon, everyone. So, what would you do if you had a near-death experience, but had the divine intervention to be given a second lease on life? Would you revert to your old ways, or would you take the experience as an opportunity to reflect and change? How would you harness this experience to drive ongoing change and innovation toward the goal of operational excellence and organizational growth and sustainability? Our speaker today had that experience as the new chairman and CEO of his company 5 years ago. Jim Murren will be the first to tell you that his mother thought she had failed when he told her he was moving and taking his young family to Las Vegas. After all, he was a native of Fairfield, Connecticut, and he was the son of a Jesuit seminarian who later became a lawyer and a member of the Connecticut General Assembly. Jim had a lot to live up to. The year was 1998, and Jim was 15 years into a successful career on Wall Street as a hospitality and gaming industry analyst. Life was good. But Jim and his wife, Heather, the head of the Consumer Global Analyst Group at Merrill Lynch, were risk takers. Jim had been recruited by Kirk Kerkorian, the famed entrepreneur and father of modern-day Las Vegas, to be the treasurer of MGM Grand Inc. Perhaps he was recruited to prepare the enterprise for liquidation. But Kirk was impressed with Jim's ability to grasp and analyze the mosaic of data and overall his financial acumen. The rest was history when the company went on a rapid and strategic growth path. In 2000, MGM Grand Inc. acquired Mirage Resorts Inc. At the time, it was the largest transaction of its kind in the industry, valued at $6.4 billion. In 2005, the company made another acquisition of Mandalay Resort Group for $7.9 billion. During his tenure, Jim was promoted to president and CFO, and then in November 2008 to chairman and CEO in what he calls a battlefield promotion when longtime chairman and CEO Terry Lanny retired. The recession was coming on strong, and just as City Center, the largest privately funded mixed-use and LEED Gold certified project valued at $8.5 billion, including the Ara and Vidara resorts, Crystal Retail, Viera condominiums, and the Mandarin Hotel, was within a year of ribbon cutting. In those dark days, when capital markets were drying up like the desert around Las Vegas, it was Jim's reputation, his knowledge of Wall Street and financing, and a steady hand that saved the company. While others may have gone back to the old ways of doing things, Jim used the experience to drive change and lay the groundwork for an ongoing, sustainable organization. Today, MGM Resorts is a leading entertainment and hospitality company. Jim is fond of the acknowledgement by Margaret Mead to never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. In response to a lack of access to cutting-edge cancer research and care in Las Vegas, Jim and Heather, along with Jim's older brother, a research oncologist at Yale, worked in the Las Vegas community to found an academic, nonprofit cancer research and care institute. Within its first month, Nevada's first cancer clinical trial was initiated. He continues his leadership in the public arena as a member of the Brookings Institute Board of Directors. With our own Pat Prevost from Cabot, he was named a Responsible CEO of the Year in October by Corporate Responsibility magazine. His commitment to corporate responsibility runs deep as he serves as the chair of the Corporate Responsibility Officers Association, and he's often a speaker on the topic, including the advancement of women in corporate leadership and corporate governance. Woohoo! Not bad for an art history and urban studies major from Trinity College. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce and welcome Jim Murren, Chairman and CEO of MGM Resorts International.
Could you do the woohoo one more time? Well, thank you, Laura. That was wonderful for introducing me, and thank you all for being here today in this holiday spirit, and thank you, Weather, for holding up I want to acknowledge all the great people that I've met through this journey, both in terms of my growing up in Connecticut, my Wall Street days, and my days at MGM. And I want to especially acknowledge, I see Governor Weld here and Senate President Murray, and of course, Mayor Menino. Thank you very much for spending some time with me. And my favorite mayor in Massachusetts, Mayor Sarno, and the mayor of Springfield. Sorry, Mayor Menino. But you've already done a lot. You've turned Beantown to Greentown. Now it's Mayor Sarno's turn to get some of the love. And Mayor Sarno, I hope that I can help you in the journey to rebuild your great city. On the onset, I'd like to also acknowledge and thank Warren Zola. I hear that it's Warren's first solo flight here, and I want to say I'll try not to embarrass you, and also I do love creme brulee. I hear it's an important aspect, starting out, getting the food right. I was very excited when I was asked to speak here, but my excitement quickly turned to anxiety as I paged through the several influential people that you've had speak in front of you and with those weighty topics that I saw in front of me. And so I really struggled with what I could bring to the table today to add to the discourse. And in the end, I thought I could attempt to provide insight in the resort industry, which I've been a part of and is going to be a part of your community here. I also want to talk about my vision for urban renewal, particularly in the great city of Springfield. I think it's worthwhile to dwell on a few lessons I learned from the Great Recession and how that has driven my agenda as a CEO. And I have to say the foundation of that agenda is, as Laura described, it's defining and refining corporate culture, because I do believe that drives innovation and excellence. And I've seen it already happening in my organization, and I think it becomes more sustainable as a result. So I'd like to begin to talk a little bit about my company. As one of the largest global operators of integrated resorts in the world, we could talk about MGM in terms of numbers. We are, of course, a Fortune 500 company. We're 200 and something. We have annual revenues of almost $10 billion. We have more than 60 million customers in our database. I employ about 62,000 men and women. We operate over 42,000 hotel rooms that we own, and we have hundreds upon hundreds of restaurants, retail stores, entertainment venues. We're kind of big. About 64% of my employees, most importantly, are minorities. Currently in the management ranks, 43% of those employees are women. That's going to be moving up from there. It's not bad. It's not a bad start. The men and women of MGM come from literally all parts of the globe. They speak dozens of different languages. They represent almost every imaginable race, religion, gender, sexual orientation, age, education, and level of work experience. We are a minority company, and I believe that our diversity is exactly our strength, and that drives our vision. You may not know our corporate name as well at MGM Resorts, but I have a fairly good idea. You know many of our famous brands, whether it's Bellagio or Mandalay Bay, MGM Grand, Mirage, Luxor, Excalibur, New York, Monte Carlo, and those are just in Las Vegas, to name a few. And of course, we have resorts outside of Las Vegas, in Beau Rivage in Mississippi and down in Detroit. And we know a lot of you have visited, and I won't call you out here in this room, but I did check. We have tens upon tens of thousands of customers just in the greater Boston region that have visited us in the last 12 months. Hundreds of thousands of customers in New England have been with us in the past year. Our famous resorts are gaming resorts, but I think more importantly, they're known for much more. They have an emphasis on luxury rooms, magnificent atriums, resplendent conservatories, championship golf courses. I'm not a big golf guy, but if you like golf, we own Shadow Creek and 3 other top 100 courses. And you may know the fact that we dine a bit. The food was great. Was the food pretty good? That was outstanding. Thank you very much. And we have 400 different restaurants in our portfolio of every imaginable cuisine, every price point, 32 James Beard Award winners, Michelin 2, 3 stars. I see my buddy here from Wolfgang Puck. Oh, how many Wolfgang restaurants do we have? 4 and growing, right? Growing. And we also look for the up-and-coming talent, and we love what we do, which is why we also have a lot of spas, because as much as I eat, I need to work out. The competitive world of nightclubs and lounges, Las Vegas doesn't sleep, and neither do you when you come out to visit me. And we have some of the biggest and best. One just jumps to mind to put it in perspective. We fairly recently opened up a club at MGM Grand called Hakkasan, $130 million investment in a restaurant and a nightclub that will do about $100 million a year in revenue. And as my buddy Jim Rooney knows, we are in the convention business. MGM just in Las Vegas owns 3 million square feet of convention space. I think that's larger than the entire city of New York City, right? Well, let's beat up on New York. Can we do that? You wouldn't mind, would you, Jim? And I know what you're up to here. You want to be a top 5 convention market. I think you're around 7 or 8 right now. And I'm rooting you on, but MGM and Las Vegas is the runaway number 1. So I'm watching our back, Jim, and good luck with that. I think that what people know most about us is entertainment, and really is in our DNA. We are an entertainment company. We own 2 arenas that are some of the most occupied in the world. We have performers of every style. Every rocker, by the way, over 50 plays the MGM. Rolling Stones, Aerosmith, Eagles, again and again and again. Neil Diamond, big fan out in Las Vegas. We had Justin Timberlake last week. We have Andrea Bocelli this week. The list goes on and on. And, of course, we're also hosts to so many sporting events, college tournaments of hockey and basketball, UFC fights. And if you like boxing, you have to go to the MGM because fighters like Floyd Mayweather, they just don't fight anywhere else. And we also know a bit about theatrical entertainment with our Cirque du Soleil relationship, which is unique and strong and 20 years going. We have the most popular shows in Las Vegas. All told, we sold 7 million tickets last year alone to different entertainment events. So we knew a bit about entertainment, and when I do go to Springfield, we're bringing that entertainment. We're back where it belongs, which is in the Commonwealth. It's true, Laura. When I did move out to Las Vegas, my mother did feel like she had failed me. My father had passed away many years before that, and she said, if Dad's alive, you'd never go out there. And now I cannot crowbar my mom out of Las Vegas. She visits 4 or 5 times a year, different groups of girls each time, and it's the 80-year-old women taking on Las Vegas. I also have to admit, as I'm making confessions, that as the Irish Catholic boy from Connecticut, I never thought the day would come when the Commonwealth would approve a gaming law, but you did so, and here we are. I think in looking at it, reflecting upon it, I have to say that it's a fine piece of legislation. It was crafted, in my opinion, to be far more than simply slot machines in some boring box. You were very clear early on that you wanted to purposely frame the legislation to encourage tourism, to encourage quality development and diversified development. You were looking for significant injection of economic activity, and energy, and of course job growth along with it. I was instantly attracted to that because that is our strength as a company, and it's what I like to do, and we intend to try to do that here and do our best. You see that 70% of my revenue is from non-gaming sources. We would be, as a standalone company, one of the largest restaurant companies in the United States, certainly one of the largest hotel companies, largest entertainment companies. We do build quality because quality is built to last, and it's a business model, I believe, that is not as vulnerable to neighboring states opening up, as clearly New York State will, and perhaps states such as New Hampshire. And this model has proved successful in the past, and it will prove successful here. We are the market leaders in any metric you would like to examine in every market in which we operate, whether it be in Detroit or Mississippi, Las Vegas, or overseas in China. And people have taken notice of that in many ways. But in every place that we call home, and what I'd like to touch upon today is that we are committed to a set of values that define who we are and what we do. Diversity and inclusion, philanthropy and community involvement, environmental responsibility, and sustainability. And it might seem odd to you that a company based in Las Vegas would feel that way, but we do, and I'd like to tell you why. I did become the chairman and CEO back in 2008, and yes, we were a year away from completing City Center, but we were probably also a year away from going bankrupt. The financial markets were frozen, as you recall. Some of my best friends who live here, who I've known since the 80s, that run mutual fund here, were calling with nothing but empathy. I hope you're okay, Jim. Doesn't look so good out in Las Vegas. I think that that time was the most searing time of my life. It was time when we really had to take stock of what we were doing and many mistakes that we had made as a company and as an industry, the hubris of doing so well. From the year 1998 when I joined to 2007, our stock went from 10 to 100. We could not do anything wrong, even though we were doing everything wrong. We did not have the kind of corporate culture we should have had. We were spending money in the wrong places. We were fat in many areas. We had destructive conflict within our organization, all of which was completely unknown to our investors because we were doing so well. But, of course, our day of reckoning came with the recession. All of the advisors that I had, some of which are based here, when we hit the recession, said to me, you've got to shut down City Center. You've got to stop the bleeding. You cannot survive at MGM Resorts with this 50% unconsolidated joint venture that was bleeding cash, trying to be built. And had I taken that advice, City Center would be a rusting hulk of a construction project today, and MGM probably would have followed itself into Delaware in bankruptcy maybe 6 months after that point. But I had 10,000 construction workers working on that site, and I had 50,000 employees in Las Vegas working for me at that time. And I just didn't think that that was an acceptable option. And so what we tried to do was just buy ourselves time. It's a lesson of the recession. I didn't know how it was going to end. It turned out to end well. But I did know that relationships do matter. We had very strong bank relationships, and the legacy of Mr. Krikorian helped us quite a bit. I did know that we had a lot of courage displayed every day with our employees that were counting upon us so that they could make their car payments and house payments. They were worried about their jobs, but they were taking care of the customers because, let's face it, no one has to go to Las Vegas. No one has to go to a luxury hotel. And if you have a bad experience, you might not tell me. You just won't come back, and you'll tell your friends never go. It's all about the customer experience. And therefore, it's all about the employees that create the customer experience. I think we've learned most importantly, to be that kind of company that has had that kind of near-death experience and has tried to take stock of that with that new lease on life that we've been given. And I intend for every day that I'm at the company, and I hope it's for many years to come, to never forget where we were only 4 years ago. We are stronger. I think we're more resilient. We were humbled greatly by the recession. But we've also learned that foundation of trust and doing your best, working for people, and that we are a people business. It's so really trite for most companies to say that every business is a people business. How do you really tackle that in a thoughtful way? I guess I drew upon the capital markets side of my life, though I was an art history major and knew a little bit about finance. And since 2009, I've done about $25 billion worth of financings, any imaginable flavor, whether it's secured or unsecured debt, any number of bank deals, convertible bonds, equity. I've worked on multiple time zones and continents all around the world. And I've learned that you just don't know how the story is going to end, but you just keep plugging away on it. Maybe it'll work out. And today, City Center employs 10,000 men and women. And we employ, as I said, 62,000. These are people that likely would not have had a job, or certainly not the job that they have today, with good pay, great benefits. And our stock went from 2 during the dark days to about 20 today. So we did come through it. And I'm inspired by those people, and that drives me all the time. And I do know that culture matters and values do matter, and doing the right thing does matter. We were the first company to adopt formally a diversity program in our industry. I went from one industry that wasn't so good at it, Wall Street, to another one that wasn't so good at it, the gaming industry. I watched my wife, who's smarter, better looking, younger, and more successful on Wall Street, deal with things she never should have had to deal with, simply because she was an attractive woman on Wall Street. I saw the same things when I moved to Las Vegas in 1998, the good old boy network. God, I hate the good old boy network. It's one reason why I don't think I like golf. I remember growing up in Connecticut, there's a great country club there, probably alienating half the crowd here of golfers. But that great country club was a club that I could caddy at, but I could not belong because they didn't let blacks in or Jews or Catholics, as I was. And that just has stuck with me a long, long time. We train thousands of people every year on diversity. We do so in a creative and inclusive way. I think we do it better than almost anyone else. We bring our entertainment DNA to the party because people necessarily don't want to be preached to or imposed upon, but they are receptive. If you can get your employees to bring their hearts to work in addition to their heads, you've already won the game. And if you can do that and then fill those hearts with ideas, then you win the game on a sustainable basis. We invest a lot in communities. Everyone should and does. But we feel connected to those communities because I learned, in Las Vegas would be the classic example, that if a community is not sustainable, there's no way the company headquartered there can be sustainable. Those two things are inextricably linked, communities and companies in which you live and work and operate. So we spend more of our efforts in those communities. I intend to spend, and I have already, a considerable amount of my effort in the city of Springfield. We are a green company. It sounds unlikely, but I've believed for a long time that developers in general, and certainly in Las Vegas, we've had really a belligerent attitude toward the environment. I feel it's wrong on every level for people to waste resources, and we felt as a leader in that community we could drive decision making. So when we did embark upon City Center, which was my idea when I was the CFO and almost bankrupted us, which I'm constantly reminded of, I did at least know I wanted to try to be as sustainable as possible. I knew I didn't know what that meant exactly in 2004, but I knew I could find the right people, and we did, from Cesar Pelli to Raphael Vignoli to Daniel Lieberstein to Gensler to KPF, and the list goes on and on of the architects that I brought to bear to design the most environmentally forward-thinking resort and the largest green project in North America with 6 golds from the U.S. Green Building Council. I knew that would cost money and we'd be bleeding edge on some stuff and bruising on others, but I felt at the end of the day there would be a return on that, and we are seeing it today. Our cogen plant and other initiatives means that we use about 40% less energy than any other facility of its size. We save more water a year than goes over Niagara Falls in an hour. We could power tens of thousands of homes with the energy that we have conserved. And we knew that people are going to, and they are today, I'd encourage you to do so, they're voting with their pocketbooks as terms of where they want to spend their stays or have their conventions or host their events. And they're asking those early questions about what are you doing about being green. All the largest convention partners that we have ask that question. It's a question I'd love to get because we bat about 800 when they ask that question. On the people side of the business, we have invested heavily because, as I said, the industry was not great at this for many reasons. Male-dominated, good old boy network, a lot of nepotism, and I feel very strongly that our employee base should reflect our customer base. And if you are working at a company that caters to customers from around the world, as we do, 18%, by the way, of my visitors in Las Vegas come from overseas. 60% of the revenue I get out of Bellagio in a given summer are from folks that live outside of the United States. If you hit the pool at Bellagio in July, it sounds like the United Nations of people chatting, and it's fantastic. If you feel that way, you need to invest to make sure people feel that they want to be a part of you. And I'm in a very labor-intensive business, and that's great. That, of course, is my largest individual cost. 60% of my expenses are payroll and related expenses. And if I don't get that part of it right, there's nothing else I can do as the ex-CFO or CEO to generate an adequate return. The gaming industry is part of the tourist industry. You know it to be large, but it might surprise you to realize how large it is. I think we need better lobbying, maybe, in Washington for people to understand this, but it is about 9% of the global GDP. On a comparable basis, it's larger than the auto industry by far, larger than the chemical industry. Here in your state, in the Commonwealth of Mass, it's well over $1 billion to your state and local revenue sources, $17 billion in travel-related annual expenditures, about 125,000 jobs just already in the Commonwealth. And we intend to add to that mix if we're allowed to. If we prevail in Springfield, as I deeply want to and expect to, we're going to employ about 2,000 people to build this beautiful resort to help revitalize downtown Springfield. And we will employ 3,000 men and women permanently once we're open. And those are going to be good paying jobs with great benefits, and I expect the vast, vast majority, and Springfield has first dibs, Mayor, to come from the Commonwealth. There are over 400 different kinds of jobs. I employ folks from every walk of life, and it is my responsibility and our team to help people help themselves to get prepared for the type of jobs that we will be offering, whether it's in technical jobs or hospitality jobs, food and beverage, IT, et cetera, which is why I've spent so much time, as the mayor knows, in Springfield, meeting with UMass and technical schools, high school presidents and principals, because I know we need to lay the groundwork now in order to have that pipeline of qualified applicants by the time we open. I'm excited about that. It's the best part of my job. We're designing this project, if we prevail in Springfield, with the objective of respecting that city's rich history. I've spent literally hours upon hours in the libraries of Springfield learning of the great history of that great city. And it's almost heartbreaking to read in some chapters of the books that I've read how excited Springfield was to be the great riverfront city of the Commonwealth, and aligned itself with cities such as Prague and Paris and others. And no wonder, given the Industrial Revolution, that it so importantly benefited from in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And to see those beautiful buildings today, many of them are as beautiful today as they were when they were erected, and yet around them, the kind of neglect that needs to be addressed is what I intend to do, to weave the great elements and attributes of the amenities of Springfield together and to bring people there from outside of the Commonwealth and from around the world. I love this because that's what I love to do. I was an urban studies and art history major at Trinity. And I'm very intrigued by this urban plan. We have some video of it outside. You could take a look at what it might look like. I really believe that we can inject energy into that city and link together with the other great amenities that already exist: the museums, the Armory, the Performing Arts Center, Courthouse Square, Basketball Hall of Fame, the Mass Mutual Center. I've already brought a couple concerts there. Pitbull was there last year, I remember. I think that if a company, puts over $700 million into a city, as I intend to do, it's probably going to be pretty good for that city. And so I would encourage all of you in this room and your friends to take another look at Springfield in terms of the economic opportunity. Real estate prices, I think, are already going up. They're no secrets, I guess, Mayor. But if we do win, we're spending a lot of money, and someone should benefit from that. I really think that when I reflect upon Springfield, I'm driven to a day. It's a little fuzzy in my memory now, but it was in 1981. I was a student at Trinity College, and I went to a Kinks concert at the then Springfield Civic Center. I don't know how I got there or how I got home, but I was there. I went to several concerts there, and I think it's kind of sad that a lot of those concerts aren't there today, and of course we know why. They're at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. But I'm bigger than Mohegan Sun. We do more with Live Nation and AEG and everyone else, and one of the things I know I can do is bring more entertainment back to Springfield if we were able to operate there. I thought, when I looked at what we could do there, I thought that the best thing to do is to listen to as many people as possible, because I'm from an industry that historically has been somewhat arrogant, industry of some great developers, but not so great personalities. And I feel like if I could be a part of the listening tour, which we did in Springfield for quite a while, we would learn more and do something better. And so that's what we've been doing. That's what I'm doing in Maryland and any other market that I'm looking at today. It is the listening tour and learning from the people that live there that's very, very compelling. And in fact, in the case of Springfield, what I've learned is that gritty determination of the folks that I have met there. And I think that's a metaphor for MGM in a way, given our background of our recent past, as I mentioned. We are also obviously battered by the recession and that pain that I have for laying off thousands of people that I did during that period of time, and then the subsequent joy of bringing so many of them, most of them back. And I've seen that in Springfield. I've seen concern in a lot of the people and their voices and when I chat with them, but also determination. I've seen an awful lot of courage and optimism at the same time. I feel like I've seen this before. I saw it in Las Vegas only 4 years ago, and I know how this could end there because I know how it ended in Las Vegas. And I know that if we can help the city, we should help the city. It's my duty to try to help the city, and I'm looking forward to it. I read a bunch about culture and especially from professors of schools I can't get into. The school across the Charles, Michael Porter and Mark Kramer talked about the articulated shared value notion, the notion that when capitalism meets the broader array of social interests. And I'm intrigued by that, and I'd like to spend a second to tell you how I think that applies to MGM. When I came, the company was called MGM Mirage. That's what it was called when I became the CEO. We had no mission statement that I could find in the files or a vision statement. We didn't have a set of core values. We didn't really even know who we were internally. And so we had to pose, I did, the question, how do we define ourselves to our customers if we can't explain ourselves to ourselves? So we embarked on a journey of reflection inside ourselves to figure out who are we, what can we and should do better, and we defined those things. And our mission is quite simple. We are in the business to entertain, engage, and inspire. I can't, in my company, I can't cure cancer. I wish I could. I can't split an atom. I'm not going to solve world hunger, but I can entertain people. I can inspire them with the architecture and the hospitality, and I can engage with people. And most importantly, I can help people engage with themselves. I can create environments where people want to be with friends, family, business associates. That's what I do. That's the business that I'm in. I'm in the engagement, entertainment business. Our values are very simple. Took us a while to articulate them, but it's simple, 3 words, but important together. It's teamwork, integrity, and excellence. We say to ourselves that is how we tie everything together. Get it? T-I-E? We think that everything that we do should be centered around those core values. And I've learned that if you spend a lot of time holistically and universally throughout a company on culture, you start to see immediate results. Because culture trumps strategy. We just finished, as many of you, your strategic planning process for next year. We require our employees to sign code of conduct booklets, like so many of you do. But it's the hundreds of decisions that employees make every day on their own that really is what matters. And those decisions are based on their own personal values and the culture that you generate and create in your company. And so that's what I think my most important job is, because like anything, culture starts at the top. And if I can't be the kind of person I want to be and the kind of person that people want to work for and with, then I'm going to be like the other companies that I found when I moved to Las Vegas. I guess a local example of that would be a baseball team here that had a heck of a run. Congratulations. And the culture that permeates throughout the front office, not just on the field. And I have to admire that. I'm not a big fan of the beards, but I have to admire the performance and the teamwork that obviously resulted in tremendous success. I feel like that's the kind of environment I'm trying to engender at MGM. I'm in a business that's, generally speaking, a couple examples that don't, but we operate all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So much of what happens at our company happens at the granular level, at the employee level. And no property president or CFO or VP of any department can determine the success of that department. It has to be from the frontline employees. My challenge was, how do I get these messages to 62,000 employees? We had a great diversity program. It was a 3-day program. Many of us went through it. But how do I get that to all 62,000 employees? If I did that, I would have gone broke. Costs a lot of money to do that. And how do you take every employee out of work for 3 days at a time, at different times? So we had an epiphany. We are an entertainment company. We said, well, let's produce a show. And we did. A Broadway-style show is about 90 minutes. We'll send DVDs to anyone who'd like to see it. It was written by my employees. It was composed, conceived by them. It was performed by them. And it is fantastic. We brought every one of our employees in over many, many days, over a few months. And soon enough, 60-odd thousand people in an entertaining, engaging, inspiring way understood what we stood for as a company. And the big idea there was that everyone was together, open seating, general admission, VPs next to valet attendants. We had housekeepers next to IT folks. And we had every language represented. And I bet that maybe 2,000 or 3,000 of those folks didn't like it, being taken out of work and being preached to. Maybe 4,000 or 5,000 people said, it beats being at work for an hour and a half. But I'd say over 50,000 of them really were touched by the experience. I think it would be hard not to have been. And we've been asked to perform that. We've been down in D.C. at the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. We've performed in front of the Red Cross and other organizations because these are not values that are unique to anyone, shouldn't be, and something that we're proud to share. I was a finance guy. I guess I still am. And it might sound like I'm more of a tree-hugging liberal type guy that just is all about the soft stuff. And I think that's partially true too. But I do know that if you invest this way, there is a return. I do know that engaged employees drive more revenue. I see that in the guest service scores because we produce a lot of analytical data. I do know that if the employees feel more comfortable, more engaged, more inspired, that they'll feel like they want to be at work and do a better job and be more productive when we're there. I do know that my employee retention rates are twice as good as the industry in which I operate, unbelievably high. I do know that my healthcare costs are declining because I'm spending money on nutrition. I realized early on that I serve a lot of meals to employees, about 45,000 meals a day in our employee dining rooms. And I had to reflect upon it. Actually, my wife said, "What the hell are you doing about obesity?" I said, "Honey, I just got home." And especially childhood obesity, Jim. What are you doing about that? And when my wife starts that way, it gets my attention. So we actually looked at everything that we serve in all of our employee dining rooms. And it wasn't pretty. It was what we thought the employees wanted. It's what they asked for. And it was a lot of stuff that they shouldn't have and shouldn't eat. So we brought all our EDR chefs together and say, you're the personal chef of this resort. Oprah Winfrey has a personal chef. Well, now you're the personal chef of Bellagio, and you have Mandalay, and you have Luxor. Change this. And we changed the entire cycle. Reduced the amount of processed foods we bought, reduced the amount of frozen foods, increased the amount of organic foods locally raised around the Southwest region, And we have seen a demonstrable improvement in weight loss and in health, because half of my employees, I pay for their insurance. They're self-insured. So I see the data, and I could tell you that our diabetes rates are declining, heart issues are declining. We're seeing improved scores in every regard. And so there's a return to that. It costs more money to do it initially, but at the end of the day, it's certainly important. We just finished our union negotiations with the largest union, and I'm happy to say we were the leader in doing this, and it was ratified. 97% of the members voted for it. They really feel like they want to be a part of our company. I'm happy that they are, and we feel like we're part of each other. And I spend a lot of time on these issues, and that's why I'm up in Springfield a lot with Mark Tolosky at Bay State, talking about the issues of healthcare. What can we do as a large employer if we're so fortunate enough to be in the city of Springfield? And why should we wait until a couple years from now? Why don't we tackle this issue right now? And we are. And then finally, we have many, many open positions in our company today. And it became obvious to me, particularly seeing our brave men and women coming back from the theater war, that I could do more there too. So I partnered up with Gail McGovern at the Red Cross, and we formed an organization called Boots to Business. We put a bunch of money into this. Red Cross, by the way, has been terrific. They provide funding for and training and counseling for folks that are coming back. We provide hospitality training for them, and we've hired a lot of people from the military. And I've found them to be, as you'd expect, the most intelligent, most dedicated, most thoughtful leaders that we have in our organization. I know we all want to do more for the military. We could always do more. We're doing more now. We could always do more in the future. It's true, as Laura said, my brother and my wife and I started a cancer center out in Las Vegas, and the other part of that story is that, ironically and a little cruelly, he died of melanoma 3 months after we opened that, as did my father before him. I mention that because my brother had a simple slogan that he always said. I wear it around my wrist, and it was just simply improve the world. He went to Duke, and he went off to medical school, and he was at Yale for 18 years. He always thought that I sold out by going to Wall Street, trying to make a bunch of money. He loved it when I moved to Las Vegas because he liked visiting. But he was a simple person that had simple values, and he was very much of a caregiver. And all he really always talked about, in addition to Guinness, which he enjoyed, was that one phrase. That's what I think I'm here to say. I think that we all have to find our personal pathways to doing our best to improve the world. And I think we can do that in a business environment. I know that our company is doing better today. Our profits are improving. And so I don't think it's mutually a conflict that you can do well and do good at the same time. Finally, when I look at the Edelman Communications Barometer, it just came out fairly recently that people around the world, this shouldn't surprise you, but trust business more than they trust government. Sorry, Mayor. I think that's an opportunity for business. I think it's an opportunity for you and for me. We can really affect people's lives, our employees and our customers' lives. And I think that they're receptive to that. And I want to just close by saying that I'm proud that I'm here. I can't believe it. I'm excited about the opportunity, if I could be here. It's kind of a homecoming for me. My mom knows I'm here. She's from Lowell, by the way. Lived in Boston a long time. Massive Red Sox fan. Thinks Tom Brady is super cute. She feels, as do I, that I have been driven by a purpose. I know why I went to Wall Street when I did instead of pursuing an architectural degree out of Trinity College. I know why I went to Las Vegas when I did. And I know why I love doing what I do now, which is working with people, helping communities do better, and trying to do good and do well at the same time. Thank you very much.